jump right into it. This is
Awesome.
EricSwanRacing.com podcast, I believe number 81, and we got Jacob Charles Brown on the podcast today. So thanks for coming and talking to me for about an hour or so today.
For sure.
And you're a Michigan guy, not too far away. I'm in Sterling Heights, and you're I think maybe an hour or two away.
Yeah, I'm in Allendale, so it's actually a little bit more west of Grand Rapids even, so probably two and a half from you.
So you know Zealand probably pretty well.
Yeah, I actually grew up north of Grand Rapids. I just moved out to Allendale, so more of the Grand Rapids, kind of the country area north of Grand Rapids. That's my jam.
Sure. My brother just moved out to West Grand Rapids, Zealand area, and he was in Kentwood before, so I know a little bit. And the city of Grand Rapids is huge. It's growing. It's like I don't know the exact statistics, but one of the biggest cities in the state now.
Yeah, and I know that they just updated the technical like Greater Grand Rapids area to. It includes a lot of other cities too, kind of all under the same umbrella.
Yeah, and my parents, I think, are considering retiring there. It's close to my brother. It's a up and coming town. I grew up in Dearborn Heights, and they still live in Dearborn Heights, and it's just they kind of want to move.
Yeah. There's a lot of. When I grew up in the country, didn't have a lot of stuff. Then when I moved out of my parents, I started living in Grand Rapids. It was just nice to have like everything within 15 minutes of what you need and go ride bikes around town, do any of that stuff. It was just a blast.
For sure. And what we want to talk about today mostly is motorcycles, motorsports, ice bikes, racing, mini bikes, supermoto, street bikes, all that stuff.
Yeah, I kind of do a little bit of all, more some things than others, but yeah, a little bit of all.
And are you a racer or a rider or track day guy, street rider? What are you? What's your forte?
My main focus is racing with Wera, and I actually just got bumped up to expert, so next year is going to be my first year in expert. Last year was my first full round with Wera, and then before that was mostly track days.
You're doing like STT track days or a different organization?
Yeah, let's see. Last year, so the year before, I was almost exclusively STT days, basically all summer, and that was kind of what I brought up my skill with that. And then when I got into racing, obviously traveling a little more, doing other tracks, I rode with N2 and Lean, and I do a couple private days too.
So you did sounds like 2 full seasons of track days?
Yeah, and then this past season I did racing, and then the season before I did a full season of track days, and then I actually started the year before that. I started pretty late in the season. I think like in late July is kind of when I took the R6 off the street and just I did like one track day with it, and I was like, yeah, I'm never riding this on the street again.
Yeah, so are you a street rider at all now, or is it only track only?
No, I've got I got an XSR 900 that I ride on the street. It's like an MT-09.
Okay, yeah, naked bike.
Yeah, so I still ride it on the street. I like commuting with it when I can.
Grocery getter.
Yeah, as much as you can do on a bike.
I mean, if you got saddlebags or like a trunk, like my dad's scooter had one of those hard cases on the back. You put like a helmet in it or a bunch of groceries. I mean, most of the stuff that I buy, or the seat opened up. It's a scooter, so it's a little different storage capabilities. But the seat opened up, and that was pretty nice. You could fit a lot of stuff under there. Or a big backpack. I've actually looked at buying one of those cooler backpacks. Whether you're taking it with you, you could have like ice or Gatorade in there. And it'd stay cool for maybe a day with that ice. You just gotta keep replenishing it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I want to set mine up eventually to do some longer trips with that capability of hauling more stuff. Or the problem I have is I own my own cabinetry company, so my work is always in different places around town. I have a bunch of tools, so when I'm moving from job to job, I can't ride that to work. But when we get set up at a job, then I can kind of ride it back and forth. But you never know either. I'll get to a job and have to go buy some wood, and I can't take sticks of wood with me on a motorcycle.
So here's a question for you. What's the craziest thing you've carried on a motorcycle?
Uh,
Because I've used to go to hockey practice on my bike and take a motorcycle, like stick it between your leg and the bike, and then wear the hockey bag as a backpack.
yeah, nothing too crazy. Probably just beer, like 30 racks of beer when we're riding grounds. We go find some and just tuck that on top.
Just strap it down or hold it right on the tank.
I'll just hold it between the legs. That's usually the way we go.
Call it a day.
If we're getting beer and we're on motorcycles, it's pretty like impromptu. So not much planning behind that.
For sure. And so you've been racing with Wera. What's that like? Changing from track days. It's like track day with a standing start. You might get a trophy at the end.
Yeah. I really, what made me switch was, I kind of got to the point with doing track days that there, a coach is always going to have to help somebody who needs a lot more help. So there wasn't a lot of, it's just harder to find somebody to latch on to exclusively to shave time. So I did a couple races, and it's just fun. That was the first thing. It was just a lot of fun. But then I'm like, okay, there's a lot of guys that are way faster. I can latch onto them. I can progress a lot more. So then I just kind of made the switch. I was like, I'm just gonna do it. And I'm pretty like analytical. So I checked out all the pricing, figured out what I would need to do to make sure it costs about the same as a track day season. And so there wasn't a huge shift in that. It was really just doing different riding and maybe getting a trophy at the end of it.
So talking about cost, I mean, it depends how invested you are or how many races you do. Like to say that racing is the same cost as track days, but you sounds like you made it so that it was very similar.
Yeah, it's always going to be more because I don't ever want to go out on a race day with old tires because it'll always be in the back of your head that these tires might give out soon. You don't know how you ride differently, and they can start to wear. So there's that. But yeah, I tried to not do, like, sometimes I do 3 races. I never really did 4. If money was tight, I'd do 2 just to kind of keep, still have fun, go out, ride, but yeah, to keep the finances in check.
And what kind of bike are you on for this racing?
An R6, 2011 R6.
Yamaha R6. And about how many miles? Do you have crazy mods on it? What you got on that bike?
Do you say mods or miles?
Both.
Oh, so the bike, so I actually bought it with, I think, 8,000 miles, but it was a street bike, and I put like 7,000 on it, and it's up to almost 19,000 now. So it's up there. I'm actually
and racetrack miles too, not just street miles.
Yeah. So the last, I don't know what the last 2,000, 3,000 were all track miles. So it's pretty beat.
Yeah.
But yeah, then mods, it's like a suspension, rear sets, really, really typical stuff. I don't think I guess I got a quick shift and an auto blip. That I really like that. A lot of people, that's kind of, some people use it, some people don't.
I think quick shifters are nothing but good news. I mean, there's races I've lost by 0.048 of a second, and it's painful to know that you could have won that race if you had a little bit better electronics.
Yeah. I'm always, the pace I'm at with racing and just riding on the track in general, I'm always a little bit below. So like, when I ride with like Eric Garcia, he's quite a bit faster than me, but he doesn't run auto blip or quick shift or anything. And that makes me question sometimes. I got these mods, I'm like, I don't really need them. I'm not fighting for a 1/10 of a second yet, but it does help just to clear your mind, get stuff off, and make the bike as comfortable as possible. So you don't ever are in a situation where you're lacking something.
Yeah, I would say you should definitely learn how to do it without those electronics. But
Yeah.
once you feel comfortable on doing it manually with no quick shifter or auto blipper, then yeah, go ahead and try it without it. And it just it shaves time in racing situations. But I almost never had one, so it's something you definitely don't need. But
Yeah, I didn't have one until basically the beginning of last season. So all my learning was, I think I had just a quick shifter at one point, but yeah, I started without any of it.
yeah,
And definitely it just helps you learn how like the bike acts too. Especially, and you still can't just use it whenever. You can't be banging gears full lean mid turn. You have to make sure you know how the bike is going to react.
right. And even with a slipper clutch, you can ride for many years without a slipper clutch and go pretty fast. But the first time you actually have one, it's like, oh wow, this is how it's supposed to feel.
Yeah, yeah. I actually there's a little mod I found out with R6s that there's a spring inside the clutch that allows it to slip just a little bit more. I never knew about that, and somebody told me about it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you haven't done it?" And I was like, "I didn't know that was a thing," and then I did it, and it helped tremendously.
Yeah, it's just so much smoother under decel and
Yeah.
hard braking.
Yep.
So it's not skipping and jumping into the
Yeah,
corner.
that was my problem. I started pushing the limits of my braking, and it would wiggle and get unhappy.
Which is kind of normal. I mean, look at top rack or stop rack. On the front end is just off the rear tires off the ground. I don't know if
Yeah.
you follow like a World Superbike.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I'm actually wearing the hoodie right now.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, so you've been racing in Wera, and you say Eric Garcia's maybe a little bit ahead of you, but it sounds like you're still fast enough to get moved up to expert.
Yeah, yeah. I'm him and like Raul, they're both kind of a few seconds or whatever. It depends on the track. Um, they're just like that next step. Like I can latch on to them. It's not like they're blowing my doors off, but if I make a little mistake or just a couple laps go by, then they're just, I'm not at that point where I can just get right back up to them.
So it sounds like maybe just working on consistency.
Yeah, that's really the biggest thing, especially like last year with racing. I kind of still treat it like a track day. Like I don't really care where I'm gonna place. I'm gonna go out and just make sure I'm getting better each time.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been today I had a couple of free hours after my hot yoga session this morning. So I was playing on my racing simulator up in my living room. And for a couple hours, my hands are tired, from all that feedback and just a lot of force. But I'm struggling I'm over driving the car because I'm trying to go too hard into the corners, sliding too much, so that my exits are now compromised, and I'm not getting the best drive on the straightaway, which is screwing up every single straight.
Yeah.
It actually gives you feedback points on the consistency and pace and like safety for hitting, or not, passing well with other cars. So something I got to work on is not over driving the car and actually braking sooner so that I can have a more stable and faster exit.
Yeah. Yeah. That's actually similar to what I've kind of analyzed throughout this last year that I do on my bike. Kind of with like how my tire wear is, and I put myself in situations where I'm relying on the bike to get me out and to keep up with people when I need to come in, change how I brake, how I enter the turn, so I come out at then if you're going faster through the turn, you don't have to rely on all the power onto that rear tire to floor you out of it.
For sure. And then some
That's
people
kind of
think
like my problem I always have.
yeah, it's a hard thing to master. That's why it's such a difficult and challenging sport.
Yeah, that's actually why I really like riding minis. I know I think I sent you a couple pictures of me on that 50.
Yeah, I got them.
They kind of forces you to do everything perfectly and be super consistent. But yeah, like if you enter the corner and you're shaving off too much speed and you're being too erratic, your exit is just completely trash. They have no power at all. I think my bike, I had Will run it on his dyno and it put out like 3.2 horsepower. Tiny. And yeah, it just forces you to be consistent and have a perfect turn. So every aspect of that turn, it's the ladder. Like you have to do it all. So it all comes out right.
And I'm sure you can't have as much lean angle as you normally do on a sport bike. Your leaning angle is probably 10 degrees less or so.
Yeah, that the riding style is definitely a little bit different. A lot of people, it's not like dirt bike, it's not like sport bike. It's kind of somewhat flat tracky, but it's kind of its own thing. Just with any bike, they're all a little bit different. But yeah, there's lean angle. Honestly, like with the body position too, like you'd expect, like it's such a light bike and you can just lean off really hard. But I noticed like if you really try to lean, it starts to get really, really uneasy, and there's no weight on the tires then. And then the bike just falls out from you.
So you're not like trying to drag elbow on those things. You're more like centered.
Yeah, really. Like I kind of look at all my pictures, like a lot of the weight is right over your knee, because that's kind of how I ride. There's a lot of different ways people ride, really.
There's a foot out, like supermoto style.
Yeah, a lot of people ride like that. A lot of people are pretty quick with that too. But yeah, I think I try to keep my weight like centered over my knee, just because there's so little traction indoors that if the bike gets squirrely, you already have like a third point of contact. You're not gonna fall.
Yeah,
that's kind of my approach. But if you're too far over it, the second you lose that contact and lose that momentum to keep your butt on the seat, you're gonna fall the other way. It's kind of a fun balanced game.
Sounds like at least the high sides aren't really too brutal.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever actually had a genuine high side on the 50 where I've gotten launched. Like normally you'll feel a low side, and then it'll grab and you think you're gonna high side, but you have so much weight over the bike that you kind of just stand it up and then keep going.
And it sounds like the XR50 is the chassis or the bike to be on. Everybody's on the Hondas.
Yeah, there's a few people on other bikes, a lot of like 110s too. But right now, especially with how they do the races, the 50 is just kind of the way to go. And my viewpoint on it is, I'm there to be riding a tiny bike and riding around a tiny track. I don't really want to ever have a bigger bike. That's kind of where I see like outdoor tracks are. It's kind of in between. But yeah, if you can stick to a really small one and get fast on that, I think that's just for me, that's like a bigger accomplishment.
Yeah, and these are all adults for the most part on children's bikes?
Yeah, there's a couple of people that bring their kids out. I don't remember his name. The last endurance race we did, there was this guy brought his kid, he was like 10 or 11 years old, and he was hauling. I wish I knew his name. Somebody put a video on the Great Lakes Supermoto page. He had a helmet cam on, and me and him were actually battling most of that endurance race. Like our pace was right about the same, but his bike was so much faster because he was like 10. And
well, he's also got the weight advantage, right? He's probably 65,
he probably weighed
70
like
pounds.
Yeah, it weighed nothing. That I've never seen a 50 power wheelie. And it was really cool watching this bike handle like a sport bike. He'd get on the throttle and it'd wiggle out and front would come up. It was pretty crazy. And then he passed me and I was behind him for a while, and I was like reconsidering my life being a mid-20s man, and then there's this like 10-year-old blowing my doors off.
And so you guys got timing and scoring. Are you use like transponders or lap timers or both?
Yeah, they have a little transponder system they use indoor. I don't remember the name of it, but yeah.
Like a MyLaps, maybe?
Yeah, I don't think that's the brand, but it's basically the same thing, but it's like an actual, like, you have a wire across the top of the track, and then they make these little battery-powered transponders that last forever.
Okay.
But it's pretty accurate, pretty sweet.
Yeah. So who's the guy to beat out there? And I'm sure there's a leaderboard somewhere trying to beat the fastest guy's lap time.
The two fastest guys, like they kind of just they get there and like they're in their own league. Is Carl Soltis, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, and Mark Gagne. They're
Oh yeah.
they fly. And Will's super quick. Yeah, there's kind of a group of 4 or 5 people that are just at that next step. I'm probably like right below them. I'm trying to do a few things to the bike to make it handle a little better. Right now, just so I could eventually like latch onto them and start riding with them. But yeah, they're in a different level.
Well, Carl's doing a full pro season, for Moto America, so he
Yeah.
uses this as practice.
Yeah.
So that's really good training, I'm sure. And I've actually never done the mini moto stuff. I did the supermoto a couple times this year at Auto City in Clio.
Yeah. So I saw you posted about that. I actually just got a KTM 85 to ride
Okay.
out your supermoto, and I
Yeah.
think I was at that day. You were there.
We probably rode together. I just didn't know who you were.
Yeah, yeah. Because I remember you posted about it on Instagram, and I don't remember what. I think you had a date, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I was at that one.
Well, I was borrowing bikes. I don't have a supermoto right now. I still don't own a motorcycle, but or I sold all the bikes that I had.
Yeah.
But I borrowed Will's. It was the Honda 100. There was a Kawasaki 250 and a Husqvarna 450. But I was normally on the Kawasaki.
Yeah.
But it's just learning a new skill, a new discipline is awesome. I wish I had bikes for all of it, but I plan on, and I've already paid for the Supermoto February 6th in like 2 weeks. It's January 22nd right now. So
yeah, the indoor event.
the indoor event, February 6th and March 6th. I'll be
Yeah.
renting somebody's, probably Will's 50. And
yeah, I'm gonna do both of those.
So it'll be the first time for me doing that. I'm excited to learn, and I'm sure I'll fall over. But
Oh yeah, it's fun. It's the first time is a hot mess. Like it feels like you're riding on ice, and then it'll just click at some point.
that polished concrete surface doesn't have a lot of grip.
No, and they have to keep most of the doors open for exhaust fumes. So like the whole back half of the track is like 40 degrees, and yeah, it gets pretty slick and cold.
I
And
bet.
it never gets sticky.
And you're not using tire warmers, are you?
No, I don't. I think we're not allowed to. I think before people would, because I know there was like a leader or whoever organized it. There's a change, like when Will started to take over. I think somebody mentioned before that people used to run tire warmers, but yeah, now we don't. I don't think we're allowed to either.
Too much of an advantage, maybe?
Yeah, I think it actually was like kind of ruining the concrete. If the tires were too hot, I think it might have been damaging it. They're pretty
Yeah.
picky about keeping that clean.
Well, I'm sure you'd get like rubbered in, and then you'd have clag. You'd have like all these bits of rubber everywhere. You
Yeah,
have to like clean it.
yeah. But even if oil gets down or gas, like you've got to clean it up right away. That's kind of like the golden rule.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because you can't have people going through that and falling over.
Yeah, we actually had somebody a month ago, maybe a little before. They oiled basically the whole track. They were missing a bolt.
Ah,
Oiled the entire track. The just drops, and it was terrible. Like
oh yeah, it takes a while to clean up. Even if you have like one spot, you have to spend a while to just clean up that one spot. Now you got a whole entire track surface and a line. That's a mess.
Oh yeah, it was. Sometimes it happens on the big bikes, and they clean it up. It's a spot. You might slip for a little bit, but you're also going so fast over it. But
Yeah.
here, it's the second you touch it, just slide.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it's never intentional. Some things they break free, or sometimes a bolt backs itself out. But and I'm sure this is less regimented and structured, and probably less skill leveled people making mistakes, right? It's not like a real track day with
Yeah,
bigger
no,
bikes.
yeah. There's a lot of people that ride that I don't think ever that don't even have big bikes.
Yeah.
And the group is growing a lot. Even since I started last winter, the beginning of last winter, and I see new people every day. new bikes. People are buying and selling bikes of other people, or just bringing their friends. And yeah, I think it's just they actually just they just changed the rule that you have to have your oil stuff safety wired or have silicone on it.
That's
Just
good.
because so many people come if they've never ridden bikes before, really, something you don't know. But there's a lot of motocross guys too that don't know what safety wire is, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
And this is a pretty low barrier of entry for people. I mean, you can buy a brand new 2022 Honda XR50 for like $1,700. Maybe you throw some tires on it and I don't know, different handlebars or some small upgrades.
Yeah, that's about it. And then from there, it's maybe like a rear shock. And
so why different handlebars? Why do people upgrade or change their ergonomics?
well, the stock handlebars aren't adjustable, and they're about 2 inches above like the top of the triple because they're made for a 5-year-old. Some people actually, there's a few people that show up with them, and they're riding, and their hands are like beneath their legs, and you can't put your knees in. So yeah, that kind of gives you that better grip to just actually hold on and not lose circulation of all your limbs.
I gotcha.
And then yeah, same thing with suspension. The rear shock is made for somebody who weighs 50 to 60 pounds maybe. So you sit on it, squats. A lot of the common thing people do is they upgrade the front fork bushings, because the forks on the 50s don't. It's just a spring with bushings. They don't have oil or anything in them, but the stock ones are really, really sloppy. So the whole front tire, anytime you brake, like you can feel it move. So Will has a really like tight tolerance set that most people run. That's kind of like the main things.
Yeah. And about how many people show up to these kind of events for the track days, or there's race events too?
Quite a bit. Probably 60 or so now, I'd say. I'm just assuming about 15 to 20 per group. And then at the races, I think it's usually, they try to keep it around 20 to 25 bike, like for an endurance race, like don't really want more than that out at the same time. But each team has 2 or 3 people, so.
Yeah, get a lot of riding in. And so are the groups classified as like novice, intermediate, advanced, or is it just a free-for-all? How does that work?
Yeah, lately it's been just that, kind of the like novice, intermediate, advanced. There isn't a strict like stipulation on which one you have to be in. Usually if you're a beginner, you go in, it's just kind of, if it makes sense. If you're really slow, they're going to be like, hey, this is dangerous. And you're riding with the fast guys and you don't know what you're doing. And to that too, there's a lot of people that have never ridden at the track or even on like a street track. So finding like a race line, they don't really know how to do that. So really, like, you don't want them going from the inside of a turn and turning right on a left turn.
Yeah.
And clobbering somebody, where if everybody's kind of slow, then it's kind of a little bit easier to get by.
Right. You got to up your safety rating on your passing.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so last year you did regional events. Did you do any national events for Wera? What tracks did you hit?
So I did the whole North Central round, and then I think the track, the race at Mid Ohio was technically a national round.
At the Vintage Motorcycle Days?
Yeah, and then, but that's really all I did. It was more than just stick to the North Central, kind of that local region.
Yeah,
I was gonna do like Grand National Finals. I didn't get to go do that because my girlfriend and I actually had to move houses. We ended up buying a house, so finance was tight at the end of the year, and I was just like, I gotta get through the season, gotta stay healthy, gotta stay alive, and make sure I can make this house happen. So I ended up not going to Barber.
For sure. Well, I saw you at Mid Ohio. Then I was track marshal, corner working. I was at the dash straight one of the days, and
Eric.
yeah. So it's, it's a great event. It's like they got flat track and they have motocross and road racing and vintage swap meet, and there's like thousands of people there. It's a
Oh
great
yeah, I
great place
had
to
no
be.
idea rolling into there because most of the tracks in the north central region are kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like Nelson Ledges, like complete middle of nowhere, and then you just roll up on this track. And Mid Ohio's basically the same thing. I rolled in and saw all these campers, people everywhere, kids, adults, everybody just riding bikes, being hooligans. It was like a huge weekend party, and I had no expectation that that was gonna be like that. Yeah,
I
because
think
normal Weir events, it's like friends and family come out and watch sometimes, but there's never people in grandstands.
Oh yeah, I met my friend there just by happenstance. I didn't even know he was coming. He was racing the motocross for his first event, and it's just it's like a festival atmosphere.
Oh yeah, it's wild.
I think they sold out their RV parking that event
I would imagine there's a lot. It was crazy.
for sure.
That track,
It's
never been to that track before, and we had some rain that weekend, so that made it difficult.
Yeah, in the morning it was wet most days, and that track is extremely dangerous. They say in the wet. AMA or Moto America doesn't go there anymore because
Yeah,
they can't race if it rains, and they can't have that for TV schedules, so it's just off the calendar until they repave it.
yeah.
But
Well, honestly, you can barely race on that track if it's cloudy. That was kind of our problem. We did the practice on Friday because they don't really do track days there either. It'd be nice to go a month before, ride a weekend, and then like let it sit. But I showed up Friday, tried to learn the track, and I got like one session out in the morning. Even though everybody told me don't go out in the morning when it's cold because it feels like you have flat tires. It felt like I had flat tires. I felt like I did not know how to ride my bike at all. And then it rained, and then it dried out, and we got like one more session in the afternoon. And then the next day, it rained in the morning, and then the third time I rode on that track was my race, and then the fourth time was also my race.
you're
So I
just
think,
learning and progressing as you go. I'm sure
oh
you're still
yeah,
dropping time.
yeah, it was definitely, I was pretty grumpy the whole time because it's a lot of driving, a lot of money, a lot of prep work to do that, I'm a huge proponent for riding within my level and being completely safe. Don't ever want to put myself in a situation where I'm going to crash. I hate that, obviously, but it definitely put me in a different. When I was done with it, my mindset sort of changed. Like I was really proud of how I was able to hunker down, focus on the basics of what I need to do, and kind of do that naturally while still racing. It kind of forced me to do that.
Yeah, and coming into Mid Ohio, everybody knows, or they should know about the track surface and how it is. And so when I went into Mid Ohio a couple years ago, I was always like, I'm just gonna get through the weekend. I don't expect a podium. I'm just gonna, maybe a top five would be great, but I'm just gonna try not to crash this weekend because it's so low grip. So that was
Yeah.
always my mentality, and then let's see how good I can do with these constraints of I'm not going to crash. And so somebody told me like, hey, you go pretty good at Mid Ohio. I noticed you didn't have any incidents, and you did pretty well. And so it just made me think like, oh wow, maybe I could have that mentality everywhere because I didn't always think that. I was like, I just have to go as fast as possible. If I crash, well, hopefully it's not too bad. It's different than I'm not going to crash. Let's see how fast I can go.
Yeah, I coming into this past race season, I did it was the first track day of the year. I was like, I'm gonna get my bike out, go to Grattan. It's just my home track. I've done a bunch of laps around there. It was like the second session in the afternoon. I think it was Sunday. Or it was the first session after lunch. I binned it into turn one, high sided to the moon.
Oh no.
The bike wasn't that bad. It like ripped both my clip-ons off, so all the brake fluid was everywhere. The throttle cables were totally torn. all that. So it looked way worse than it actually was, and the fairings got all cracked up. But it was in general, like the crash was pretty low cost, and I didn't get hurt. I had that airbag suit on, and it really, I just hurt my foot, but nothing major. But that definitely kind of made me reel it back. I think if I didn't have that, my mentality of all the other races and kind of learning new tracks would have been different. But I'm happy that happened, because at the end of the day, if I ride 100% within my limit, it's still going to be fun. But if I try to push it, it's still going to be fun. Really, it's not fun if I wad up the bike.
So what do you think caused that crash? Was it like cold tires or just getting on the gas too hard, too much lean angle?
It was just too much lean angle. It happened so fast. I don't really remember what happened right before it, but I do know I kind of had like a little split second where I just lost focus. I think I was just coming in too hot and didn't brake like when I normally do, and it kind of threw me off guard. And then I just came in way too fast, and I tried to save it, and I actually made it. You know how like there's kind of that hill.
What corner?
Turn one.
Turn one at Grattan.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're going clockwise?
Yep. So yeah, I was coming in, and then you kind of hit the apex, and then it goes up that hill. It was kind of like right around there. I thought I could make it, but the grass was coming at me too fast. Like I was still going, and I think I just leaned it way too far, lost traction on the rear, and I'm not like the rear end coming out doesn't really scare me, because I rode dirt most of my life, like. But it happened so fast. I had no chance to I was either gonna just whack open the throttle to hope that I could save it, or just keep the low side. But by the time I even thought that, I was 6 feet in the air, flying, and then I just rolled way out into the woods.
It's one thing if it's like a controlled power slide, but it's another thing if it just snaps sideways and there's no way to catch it.
Yeah, it was so fast. Like I don't even remember my tires making noise or anything. I was just, this is weird, and then I'm in the air.
So I guess going faster is all about making those moments into not a big deal anymore. Like, you know how when you were starting, you have all these moments of you'd freak yourself out, but it wasn't really a big deal. Well,
oh yeah, or you drive off into the grass.
Yeah, well now, as a professionals, I would say that happens to them 6 times a lap, but they are able to control it in a way that doesn't get worse. It's so fast.
Yeah. And the focus thing, I think that's what started the whole chain of events that caused that crash. That just after that, I just kind of always have a heightened sense of focus.
Yeah.
I don't go out on the track and I'm like, okay, focus harder. That's kind of irrelevant, but I think just inevitably I'm gonna have that heightened level of focus.
Yeah. And so what are your plans for this 2022 season? Are you doing more regional, national stuff?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna do just the same thing, but in the expert class.
And so that's really the best coach you can have. You said going from the instructors who may be racers, but maybe also just track day guys. You get different instruction as you get faster. And so you're following novice racers is different from track day coaches. Then you go to expert racers. Now you got sometimes professionals who come down and race the expert nationals. And you can really see where the level is. You're like, oh, I wasn't 2 seconds off the lap time. I was 5 or 6 seconds off, the professional or whatever it is.
Yeah, definitely when I started racing, and because I didn't really, even at Grattan, I didn't know until I did that first race a couple of years ago. I did one race that year. I did a bunch of track days. And I think it was John Hawkins. I knew who John Hawkins was because Chad McCauley painted my bike. Him and John are good friends and kind of met all of them through that. But I never saw them clip laps off, and I saw John did a 21 or a 20 lap time, and I was like, because I think I was pretty good friends with Raul that whole season. We kind of did everything together, and his fastest time was a 24 that season. So I thought that was just that was the fastest I ever heard. And then I'm like, oh, there's 3-4 seconds off of that. I couldn't even break a 30 then.
Yeah. And I think
Crazy.
John would be like a points finishing guy in Moto America, but has only done a couple pro races. So, there's still another couple of seconds to be found from John. And John's a fantastic expert national, champion.
Oh, yeah. And now in Bratton, they're repaving a few more turns, too.
Yeah, I just saw that they were doing something in the S's, and it's had a lot of changes. I think the last time I rode Grattan on a sport bike was 2018, but I did a car track day weekend at Grattan last year, 2021.
Yeah.
And that was a blast. So you get to see all the pavement changes. And
Yeah, I think it's from after the hump, like turn 5 through the bowl, and then there's the 2 little humps after that.
Yeah.
They stopped
9.
in there.
Yeah. And I noticed doing the car track day, it's such a different auditory or hearing experience when you're screeching your tires everywhere, and then the pavement changes, and you can feel the grip level change like through turn 9 after the bowl coming towards the bus stop. You can just see the different pavement changes and hear it and feel it as you go through them. So it's like you just gotta, even the cars sliding through it, you just gotta stay the course and be committed to the power delivery.
Yeah, well, even that first year I did that full year of track days. Turn 1 was literally falling apart.
They have the sealer patches.
Yeah,
it's very unique.
Well, we did a track walk. I forgot who it was, but you could go into turn 1 like right at the apex and grab with your hands part of the track and like peel it up. It was just floppy and nasty, and so that definitely needed to get fixed, and I'm happy they did.
Yeah, and it's hard as a track owner to make sure everything's perfect, and you think, oh, why can't they just repave it tomorrow? Well, that's not usually how it works. So they use sealer sometimes. I've been working as a track marshal, going to all the different events, and we inspect the track before it's used every day, and every morning we look at our corner and all that. I was at Blackhawk Farms last year, and same thing. The sealer patches, I had it in my hands. I didn't purposely rip it off of anything. It was just laying on the track. It had been dislodged from the right place to fill in the gap from somewhere else. I brought it back to the meeting. I was like, is this important? This came from the racetrack. I think this should be in one of those holes out there that's pretty big.
Yeah.
So, all right, we'll try to put it back tomorrow.
Yeah. No, I mean, that happens. It's hard. They're running a business too, and
oh yeah,
they got to make sure they're putting their eggs in the right basket to keep it running.
Oh, I'm not faulting them. It's how the track surface goes. I'm sure it's very difficult to keep it in pristine condition.
Oh yeah, unless you can, repave the track every year, it's not going to be perfect.
Yeah, everything's always ripping up, and the cars are making dents in it and with their braking. It's so cool to see, like, as you learn, the different ripples in the track are, bumps or elevation. You can use those to your advantage to see like how the actual surface is laid out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh yeah, man.
I always liked with Grattan, you could tell like when the cars were there, if they were there like a Friday, even before like bikes were there, like the grass was all tore up because if they go off, they make way bigger mess.
Oh, for sure.
All the braking zones were just like that much more bumpy.
Yeah, it gets a little bit more rubbered in.
Yeah. Well, even at Mid Ohio, because I think the last big race they had there before we rode with Weira there was, I think IndyCar was there. And so there was a lot of peaks and valleys that were like really tore up because when the cars would get there, they would bottom out and just rip it to shreds.
Yeah, man. So I got some interesting or cool news to share. Like I said, I'm a track marshal, so I go to all the different race events. With the Daytona ARMA, it was January 7th through 9th, so just a couple weeks ago, the start of the year. Did flat track and road racing stuff and flagging. Didn't have to pick up too many bikes, actually. I was in corner 4 most of the time, It's in corner 2, exit a pit lane kind of area. And those aren't really hot spots for crashes. I had a couple of mechanicals, pushed some guys, who broke down. A lot of vintage bikes, a lot of breakdowns. But it was pretty cool to see that. And the first time I did a flat track event, that was awesome.
Yeah.
And then I got accepted to be a Formula One marshal this year at Miami. So I'll be going down to Formula One and working that event in May. And then I also got accepted to be MotoGP track marshal for COTA in Texas. So that's in April. I'll be doing that. I'm going to be going down to Homestead, Miami for CCS Florida in February. So like a couple of weeks. I just got a flight and all that. Let's see, Daytona. I'll be doing the 200 in March for Moto America. So I'll be going down again to Daytona area. And what's crazy? I think a flight is like $200. It depends how much luggage you get or what days it is and what priority flights you want, how long your layover is. But there's flights out to California round trip for like $90. And it costs more to go to Florida. I don't understand.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Nobody wants to go to California right now, apparently.
Well, actually, there's like a Wera West I could do at one of the tracks, maybe Willow Springs or Fontana. I don't remember the exact track, but it was only a one-day event. I'm like, if there's a track day, maybe a day before it, that would make sense, but I'm not doing it for one day. But at $90 for a flight, maybe I could.
That's not bad at all.
It'd be like a paid vacation.
Yeah, and you're not taking a bike or anything with you, so you don't have to.
No, just a backpack. I usually camp. I have like a tent backpack, and I just bring just one backpack and a little drawstring with headphones in it for the plane and all that. That's about it. So I'm also going to be a MSF Motorcycle Safety Foundation instructor this year. So I got accepted to the coach for beginner new riders who've never ridden a motorcycle, and the basic rider course and the advanced rider course, all that stuff. So I heard about the opportunity from Wisconsin. I worked Road America last year for Moto America, and I'm on their email blast. And they said, hey, we're looking for coaches. So I talked to them, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. I'm sure I could do the same thing in my own state and not have to drive 6 hours to get there. So
yeah. When I took my MSF course, when I got my bike and obviously wanted to get my bike license, one of the guys that was teaching was like a local at Grattan. He did a lot of the STT days. I don't remember his name, and I'm mad that I don't. But he kind of brought that up, and brought up STT, and then a couple months later, it was actually the person I bought a snowmobile. I used a snowmobile. The person I bought my snowmobile from also brought up STT. And I was like, okay, that's two people I heard of. And I looked it up because when he brought it up, I never really looked it up. And then when they brought it up, I looked it up and I was like, oh, like this is super easy. And yeah, it's crazy that, like a lot of people go to those, you go just to get their license or learn how to ride a motorcycle because they've never ridden before. And for me, I got a whole different society out of it,
Yeah. I don't think they're mandatory to get your license, but if you didn't have one of these courses, you'd have to do like you have to do a test at the Secretary of State. So this is basically saying you passed the test already, and then you just go to Secretary of State and you don't have to do like a riding portion. But I think you still have to take a 5-minute test.
Yeah, because I did mine. There's a local place that did it, and they covered the test and the riding test, and it was I think it was through like a community college. So it was only like $50. They just do that. It's like a 2-day thing, and then you get your license out of it.
Yeah, I took it in 2008. I took the basic rider course, and then I think that took the advanced rider course 2009. Before I ever rode on the racetrack, and I thought it was very valuable. I didn't know how to shift. I never drove a manual or stick shift car before, and my dad's scooter that I've been practicing on was a CVT. It didn't have gears, so just brake on the front and the levers, but no actual shifting or all that. So it was valuable for me to actually take the course, and I'd recommend it to new people. And they're looking for coaches. So if you know how to ride a motorcycle and you know how to teach people, they pay pretty well, and they're in desperate need. They told me of coaches.
Yeah, I got a thing in the mail. It was probably a year or two ago, saying they're looking for coaches, and I almost did it, but I was I also taught like a bunch of drum lines and stuff because I was big into like marching band and drum lines in high school and a little bit after, kind of when I was going through college. So I was doing that, and I like teaching, I really do, but I was like, that's gonna be too much. I taught at like 3 different schools then, so doing a whole weekend, like it was just not on the table. But I've actually thought about doing that again lately.
Yeah, I'm just trying to do anything possible to not have a normal day job and to stay in the motorcycle industry and like make connections and talk to people about bikes. And I actually haven't had a street bike in like 10 years, so more than that. So I'm thinking about getting a street bike this year, and because you do need a motorcycle for one of the for passing the coaching portion. One of the sections you need your own bike. They don't provide it for.
Oh, yeah.
So I could borrow a bike from my friend, but I'm like, I would really like to have my own street bike again. Grocery getter, something that's not going to get me in too much trouble. Like I don't need a 600 on the street. I did that before, and that's how I got in trouble for speeding, and that's how I got into the track in the first place.
Yeah, that's the same thing that happened to me. I got a big ticket, and I was like, I don't. I'm young and I'm poor. I don't have enough money to be paying for all these tickets, and did one track day, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is like completely different, way more fun.
So I'm thinking about a Suzuki DRZ 400 Supermoto because it's street legal. It's a 400 or 398 cc's. It's not too powerful, but still probably 80, maybe 90 miles an hour. 5 gears, I think, not 6. I'd like to have 6, but who cares? And then you could use it for trails or outdoor riding up north. You can use it for probably supermoto track days. I don't know if it'd be great for racing. I don't know what class it'd be eligible for, but
it might be a little just set up a little bit differently. But
so I'm not really looking to race it, but it's kind of an all-around bike that could be satisfying a couple different needs.
Yeah, and a bike like that, even if you go down south and ride like Tail of the Dragon area, like they're perfect for that because I know a lot of my buddies, like I've gone down there. I've gone down there only once, and a couple of them were on 600s. You see a bunch of people on sport bikes too, and it's just those are too fast for that area. Something slow and torquey is way more fun. So a bike like that, you can go down there and rip around and still have a bunch of fun.
Yeah, and I'm learning a lot about the supermoto or dual sport. It's obviously not the best bike of any of the worlds, but it kind of solves 3 different bikes problems with having one bike.
Well, especially like you said, you used to, you had a bunch of bikes, and you want to, you want a bike for everything. So you're not going to be doing them all the time.
Right.
So it's not, unless you're super serious about it.
Yeah, it's just like a good compromise. And I've been thinking about the Kawasaki KLX 300 Supermoto, but I'm like, man, for another $1,200, you could get another 100 cc's. And I've had a 2008 Kawasaki 250 street bike, and I felt like I kind of outgrew the 250. Like everybody wants to progress and get something a little bit faster. Maybe the 400 I'd hold on to longer than the 300 Cowie.
Yeah. Is the 400 a single cylinder?
I think it is.
Because isn't the Kawasaki, doesn't it have the same as the Ninja 200 engine?
I'm not sure of all the specs, but I've been just looking into it recently, and they've been piquing my interest. I mean, you can buy a brand new 2022, that's the Suzuki DRZ 400 for about $8,000 with all taxes, out the door, or
bikes are cheap.
or the KLX 300 for about $6,800. So
Yeah.
And that's brand new with nobody tampering it, 0 miles. There's no electrical damage, no wiring issues.
Yeah. That's how I got my 900. There was like a deal. Yamaha had a deal at a local dealer. And I was able to get a brand new bike, that it has a Yamaha triple in it I got it for like 8.5 out the door.
I bet.
And those bikes it's basically a 600, but instead of a 4-cylinder, it's a 3.
Right. So you've had a Triumph before?
No, this is the XSR I'm talking
Oh, I'm
about.
sorry. Yeah, I got you.
No, but yeah, those Triumphs are cool too. I want every bike. That's my problem.
Let's get one of each.
Yeah, I've got 7 right now, technical
Okay.
motorcycles.
Do they all run?
Yep,
That's good.
they're all pretty. One of them is a Ruckus for my girlfriend. We just got that at the end of last year because she wanted to putz around town with me.
So she supports your riding. She rides too a little bit.
Really? No, not really. Like she just got into the Ruckus and she loves it. So, but she's not a big fan of like riding on the big bike with me. And I'm kind of okay with that because you're always at a higher risk of getting hurt. If somebody does something stupid on the street, that could be it. But so I'm not too worried about it. But yeah, she supports it. She likes me doing it. I have fun, and I'm happy she likes that Ruckus because it's putts around town. It's fun.
Yeah.
Get the
And
wind
it's
in your hair.
smaller CC machine that pretty much anybody can ride.
Yeah, it's a 50cc. Goes like 40 miles an hour.
There you go. It's still, you can ride it on like side streets and sort of main roads, but not
Yeah.
freeway.
Yeah, we don't live in like now that we live out in Allendale, it's a little harder to ride because the neighborhoods are kind of split up with some big main roads. But next summer we'll just drive it I'll put it in the van and we can go into Grand Rapids and ride around to friends' houses and stuff, and you can have a whole day of riding those around town.
Yeah. And how is Grand Rapids now? You probably got a whole lot of snow.
It's snowing a little bit. It's not terrible. Like a month ago, we got dumped on. That was pretty bad. It's just really cold. I don't
Yeah.
like the cold, so it's so cold.
Yeah, man. I plan on moving after my lease is up, probably next year, somewhere below the snow belt because it's like 12 degrees outside. I'm like, why do I live here? This is stupid. I want to be outside and not where the wind hurts my face.
Yeah, I used to love snowmobiling. Snowmobiling and dirt biking was my jam, like as a kid and throughout high school. But once I sold that snowmobile and had no use to play outside in the winter, I hate the cold.
Now, don't get me wrong. I snowboarded for many years and I love snowboarding, but I'd rather drive to the snow than live in the snow.
Yeah. If I had a snowmobile, I could just ride around every day, kind of like what I did when I lived north of Grand Rapids. There's a bunch of trails you can go to restaurants, bars, whatever, go see friends. But where I am now, and just with how busy I am, it's like not practical. So I'm just not in the winter at all. I actually might build a setup for because I got a YZ450 to set that up for ice biking next winter. Because right now I kind of share a bike with my buddy. He kind of lets me rip around here and there. But I think if I were to do that a lot more, it'd make me appreciate winter.
Yeah, I'd like to try out the ice racing. It sounds like a lot of fun. I was going to ask you about that if you're into that, if you do that often.
Yeah, so my buddy that I mentioned, he let me ride it once or twice, and immediately I was hooked. It's like a whole separate. It's just like flat track. Like a lot of old timers who've been doing it their entire lives. Not saying that there's plenty of new people doing it, but just this whole secret subculture I never knew about.
Yeah.
And it's great. Like super fast people. Like when I went out, I had skills. I know how to handle a bike. Was not that fast. I wasn't tipping the bike over. I was going so slow. But then, you got these people who race every weekend, ride every weekend. They live on lakes, so they ride every day, and they're just flying. And that it's a whole different type of riding too, because like the problem I always had was like your tires have too much traction.
You're not used to all that.
Yeah, and like you have to get on the gas really hard to break the rear end loose so you can turn how you want to turn. And there's people flying by you, they're dragging handlebars on the ground, throwing snow everywhere. It's crazy.
And I'm sure you gotta bundle up so much that nothing is exposed, otherwise it'll get like frostbite in 20 seconds.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, even when I went snowmobiling, you had to keep bundled up. As long as you're moving, you kind of stay warm then. But yeah, if any skin's showing, that's kind of the bad bit.
And I'm sure that you don't.
Hot, and I'd rather be too bundled up than not enough.
You gotta start a little cold, I think, and then you warm up as you get moving.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm sure you don't want to be changing those tires very often with all those spikes on it. I'm sure that's got to be a pain in the butt. Put those
it's
tires
it's not even the studs that's the problem. There's actually a tire liner on the inside. I don't know if you know. It's like a cut down sport bike tire essentially. And so when you go to flip that bead over, you have about, being lenient, an inch, 3/4 of an inch to an inch of actual like movable tire to flip over the bead. And then the tube barely fits, and it's a pain.
Yeah.
That's why if I set up next year, I'm gonna buy a second set of rims, buy a brand new set of tires, have them just put them on for me, whoever makes them, and hope I don't pop a tube and don't have to touch them for a while.
This some people don't want to handle, but in anytime you got a pain like that, there's opportunity for someone to make money if they can, if they want to. But I'm sure it's like, how many times are you gonna cut yourself putting these on?
Yeah, a lot. I helped my buddy that I'm actually going with him tomorrow. He got some new tires and he brought them over to my shop, and I was like, yeah, I can help you. I helped you once before. So I know what's gonna happen by the end. We're gonna cut ourselves all up and be pissed off because they're just so hard to do.
Yeah. It's always difficult. It's just like safety wire though. Once you learn how, then it's easy.
Yeah. Oh, there's guys that they'll go out, they'll pop a tube or something on the lake, and they'll change a tire with like a shovel. They won't even use a spoon. They'll do it on the side of a lake with like a stick. I have no idea how they do that.
Yeah. Pretty ingenious people. It's like you're got to be MacGyver, or imagine you're on Guam and no one's there to help you. How are you going to fix it?
Yeah, exactly. A lot of patience. That's the key to even changing sport bike tires with spoons. That's the key.
I've never actually done that. I've always taken it to the tire guy.
Oh, really? When I got into, because I would always change them for dirt bikes, I kind of already had the setup. So when I had to change my tires for the first time on my R6, I was like, I'm just gonna do it with spoons.
Yeah. I mean, I did many bicycle tires, but no, not. I haven't done spoons with a sport bike tire yet.
Yeah, I've done it. I've done a lot of sport bike tires with like those Nomar systems too.
Oh yeah.
But then a buddy of mine now has an automotive changer, and that is the best way to go.
Yeah, I'd love to get
swap
one.
the set in like 30 seconds.
I think you can get a tire machine for like $1,500 to $3,000 brand new.
Yeah.
And you need a generator too. You need power for it and an air compressor. Yeah,
that's definitely a future investment I'm probably gonna make for my shop I have, just to
tire balancer, weights, and you need some supplies. You need that the stick that goes through the axle and all that.
Yeah. I already got a balancer. Just the physical work of changing it, I hate doing it.
Yeah. So what's on your mind? Is there anything you want to talk about today?
I had a question. I don't remember it. I'm terrible. I have a terrible.
It's all good. So I'm on YouTube under Eric Swahn Racing. I'm on everything under Eric Swahn Racing, like Instagram and Facebook, and I don't really use Twitter. But I am on Twitch now. So I'm twitching out on playing video games sometimes, streaming.
Okay.
Streaming the video game. So I figure if I'm playing them, why don't I just stream it anyways? So I'm usually pretty good at it. Although I've been playing at 100% and getting my ass kicked. and that's it's like, man, like I said, I'm overdriving the car because I'm trying to keep up with these guys. I'm like 1.6 seconds off of this guy, off of the leader. I'm like, that's not too far off, but they're still pulling away from me, and I can't. Like, where are you finding this time? And I'm realizing that I'm seeing my traction control kick on because it starts you off at like 6 out of 8 rating. So I'm losing time because electronics are cutting my engine. So I'm trying to work with using less traction control so I can get on the throttle harder, but then I'm sliding out more, so I'm losing more time. It's like how do you like find the right sweet spot?
Oh yeah, that's always the struggle. So do you like do that like in like an online league or something? Is that kind of something you do?
So I plan on doing that. I have not yet, but I just bought this new game, Assetto Corsa Competizione. It's the new GT Sport World Challenge video game that they use for esports. So I plan on doing that. I'm just like getting my rankings up higher. I learned all the tracks that they have, and I'm just trying to get more familiar with the game, drop my lap times a little bit, and really I have to increase my safety rating. I'm at like a 42, and you need to get to a 70 to get on to the main servers with like the really fast guys. So I'm not
because they like don't want you running into people because of.
Yeah, so I'm still like sometimes running into people. Like I've been racing for many years, but just today it's like you're in a big pack. I'm starting from 17. I qualified 17th in this one race at Catalunya at 100%, aggression and 100% AI skill. So this is all based on computers, and I'm going into turn 1 Catalunya, and they're way braking too much because it's a huge pack. So I rear-ended the guy, and like I get marked down for that. That's totally my fault, but I wasn't expecting him to break 100 meters earlier than my normal braking point.
Yeah, I mean that's just a hard mentality too, because it's like not real. It's a game. Like you can run into whoever you want, but yeah, if you got to get that, I never really thought about it that way.
Yeah, so they exclude you. You cannot even enter the race if you're not up to a certain number. And like I've probably done a couple hours on that game already, and I'm only at 42. So I don't know how much longer I have to play, or maybe I just have to race cleaner. Because anytime you're in an incident with somebody else, whether it's their fault or yours, you get marked down. So like I'm playing in online games with multiplayer people I don't know, and we're all about the same ranking, which is not good. So I'm in there with people who are also hitting people, or
it's like a double-edged sword.
You gotta stay out of the way, out of the danger, no matter what.
Yeah.
Even if it's not your fault, if someone's diving on the inside and they're gonna hit you if you don't back out of it, they just won the corner because you can't touch them.
Yeah, that's yeah, my brother was big into, or I think he still is. He plays a couple like racing games, and anytime he convinces me to play them, I'm terrible, and like he's really good at. He kind of has a simulator set up, but he doesn't use it a whole lot now. But yeah, it was. I think the realism, like in there's a lot of feel that like you can have some pretty sick setups, but I still like there's just that disconnect for me, and it's just so hard.
Yeah.
Like you don't feel like you don't feel any G's or any of that. Like you don't feel the car actually moving. It's just it's like hard. Like I always will just run into people. That's my problem.
Yeah. Now the one that I have actually has like force feedback. So it's not really a toy, but you don't get the G's. That's the biggest thing I noticed. Last year I rented a real tag go-kart 125cc, not a shifter, but just below that. I went to East Lansing kart track, and I've been doing the simulator. My hands and my arms were fairly strong, and I could still do that, do the motions and all that. But what I was struggling with was just the G-force, how much torque was on my neck and my ribs from hitting the bumps, and my back from just how bumpy it was. But yeah, the G-force in your abs, you just can't replicate for that kind of force.
Yeah. I haven't really raced or ridden in a car on a track a whole lot, to be honest. But I would just imagine like being in a car, especially a cart that that thing probably didn't even have suspension.
No suspension. It's just the tires and maybe what what camber or caster you have on them, or what angles.
Yeah, but like on a bike, even if you're going to a turn, like you feel those G's, but you're also moving your body in a way where it's, there's still kind of that line straight down your spine.
Yeah.
So that's something I wouldn't be used to if I ever did that.
So something that I do to keep my neck strong is when I do mountain biking, I like to wear a full face so that it keeps my neck more strong. I mean, it's heavier, and so it's also a little safer. You want to reduce concussion possibility or head injuries of all kinds. So if you have a full face, I like to wear it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Even when I go dirt biking, like if you do a really long ride, sometimes you don't realize, or even on a street bike, if you're going for a long ride and you have your helmet on, like you can feel like your neck muscles getting sore because it's just it's just a different kind of stress.
And the wind resistance and all that.
Yeah. Well, it's like you watch like these F1 guys, like they train like because they're pulling massive amount of force throughout those turns, and then their necks are like huge.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like you gotta work, like that's something people don't think about. Like you gotta work that out. And
yeah, you just don't realize the stress involved. Like, oh, I drive cars, like it's not a big deal. No, you have no idea how fast they're actually going around that corner.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think I saw a video. It was like Kimi Räikkönen was like cracking walnuts with his neck. I'm like, okay, like that dude's got some muscles.
Yeah, when I did the first kart day, I was like, I did not prepare for this. Like after you do a sport like for snowboarding, you don't do it for an entire year. Then you go snowboarding again, you're like your body hurts for the next week because you use all these muscles you haven't used. So same thing for karting. I feel like I'm up to par. I work out several times a week, and still I was like, man, I am not prepared for this.
Yeah, it's even I actually just had a conversation about this with one of my coworkers. And it's not even like related to racing because I do a like cabinetry install and home remodels. So we kind of have like a certain set of things we usually do, and we're doing this little side job, and we had to do like some electrical work. We don't really do that a lot. We do it enough, we know what we're doing and do it right, but it's just at the end of the day, like my mentally you're in a different mode than you normally are, but like you're also like reaching up and doing things in a completely different way, using all the little different muscles in a different way. It's like you're sore.
Yeah, I bet it's a lot of probably reaching above your head a lot of the time.
Yeah, but like if I could install a whole kitchen in a couple days and I'm fine, it's no problem. But
yeah,
whenever it's just like it's just weird. It's never like insanely bad, but it's just you notice you're like, I did something different for a few days than what I've been doing for the past month.
Sure.
And that's just with like biking. Like when I hop on the dirt bike after I have been off it because I've been racing for a couple months, it's like my legs hurt differently. Your arms hurt differently, your neck hurts differently.
So tell me about your cabinetry. How'd you get into that? And if people want some new cabinets in their kitchen, how do they contact you?
Oh, so I got into it right after high school when I started going to, because I just went to a local community college for music recording, and I also need a job. Because I was also heavy into marching band in high school, so the band director there and one of the other teachers knew that teacher's husband, and he was a cabinet builder, and I always kind of was interested in woodworking. I was obviously a drummer. I made a couple drums like by myself and just do little home improvement things for my parents. And I ended up like remodeling their garage by myself, figuring it all out. So it was just piqued my interest when I heard that he was a woodworker. And then right after high school, I was like, I need a job. I hate customer service. Like I don't like working normal jobs. That's not me. I don't like doing monotonous stuff. So yeah, I just reached out and he was like, yeah, I need help. So I was working for him then, and we kind of went through the ropes. We ended up merging with a company, and then we ended up shifting to another company. We always stuck together, and then we got laid off from COVID, and that was when we decided to just start our own company again, just two of us, and we're both owners. We have another lady that works for us that helps to do a lot of like book work and quoting. So it's just 3 people, and yeah, that's kind of the story of that.
And what's the name of it?
It is a modern day design. I actually have a card. We're on Facebook pretty heavily. We don't have a website. I don't know if this is going to show up the right way because we're on camera. Hold on. Will that be backwards? Is that backwards?
I can read it. Yeah, there it is.
So I don't know if that's too blurry. But yeah, we're on Facebook, Modern Day Design. We really do kind of focus on just the greater Grand Rapids area. Obviously, we're a small business, so like traveling out east would be kind of a big deal, but yeah, we kind of do what we can do.
Yeah, I guess if the quote's right, you go pretty much anywhere, right?
Yeah. We one of the companies that we initially merged with, we did a lot of traveling, a lot of installs in other states. But yeah, kind of for like home kitchen remodels. It's, you know, somebody's not going to call us and be like, hey, you want to come to Tennessee to do our kitchen, unless it's like a friend or family member.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Sounds like you know, something like that's always needed. Home remodel, you know, painting, things like that are always they're not going. Yeah. So.
I think I lost it.
Oh yeah, I just they're not going away. Those are things are always needed in today's society. It sounds like.
Yeah, it's kind of like this inevitable job security. You know, there's always going to be homes. And homes are going to be worked on. And in West Michigan, I think we're kind of at a record housing shortage right now too. So there's a lot of new houses, a lot of people moving to houses from other states, and then they're ripping out everything.
But housing prices have raised a lot. They're getting 20% over asking price and thousands of dollars in cash.
Yeah, don't even get me started with that. My girlfriend and I bought a house last what was it, September? August? Yeah, and it was you know, I'm always in homes. I know, you know, it was hard to find a good home that was a good price just because everything's so high, and yeah, it was bonkers.
Sounds like you got something good now, though.
Yeah, we got a pretty good setup. We got really lucky because a lot of the offers, we put, I think 6 or 7 offers before we actually got a house we wanted.
Wow.
And a lot of those were just, I think one of them our realtor sent us. She's like, yeah, there was 20 other offers.
Ooh.
She's like, a chance of your offer being exactly the same as somebody else is high. And then at that point, they could pick you because they like your name better. It was,
yeah.
I mean, nobody's to blame, but on this house, we put our offer in over the 4th of July weekend. And it's kind of a funny story because we ended up getting it, and then our realtor told us that nobody else put an offer in because it was the holiday. So we didn't have to like get into a bidding war or do any extra cash. So yeah, we got pretty lucky with just, especially with how this market is. And it was first time home buyer, so we didn't really know half the stuff people were telling us. Just knew.
So there's a good tip for you. Even if it's a holiday, if you're in the market for a house, put your offer in on a holiday.
Yes, go buy a house on a holiday. That's how it works. But yeah, it's a big house. It's not, we don't have kids or anything, so it doesn't need to be huge. But what I love is I got a giant garage. It's like a 2-stall garage with if you return a 3rd stall and put it on the back. So I got my whole like wood shop in the front, enough room for my girlfriend to park her car, and then the whole back is like a motorcycle shop. Got a lift and a bunch of racks and stuff for tires and gas cans.
Sounds like you got a good amount of storage over there.
Yeah. It was always hard like renting houses and stuff because I wouldn't want to put too much money into a rental garage.
Right.
That, you know, you're inevitably going to get kicked out of.
Epoxy the floors and, you know, put maybe insulation in.
Yeah, so it actually came fully insulated. That was the best part. First thing I put in was a heater. Didn't have to really insulate anything else. Just make sure it's airtight, and I can crank it up to 65 in there in the middle of the winter.
Nice. I got one of those torpedoes. They just kick out the heat. It's almost overkill, but they're pretty propane heaters.
Yeah.
You just got to keep a fan on the whole time, keeping air coming in and out.
Yeah. I got one of the big ones that mounts to the ceiling.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, it's got a thermostat. I'm gonna put a smart thermostat in there. That's my next upgrade. So if I know I'm gonna be out there, I can kick it on before I get home.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the end goal of that.
For sure. And where can people find you online? Are you on Instagram and all that?
Yeah, I don't do social media a whole lot, but yeah, probably just Instagram. I think my name is JakeWay11. Facebook's just Jacob Charles Brown. I don't really post a whole lot. I don't really do I'll sometimes do little race updates just to kind of for my family to know and to kind of give the people. I got a couple sponsors to kind of give them mentions because it's good business to spread business. So
for sure. Who are a couple of your sponsors?
So my main one is MC Power Sports. He's a local guy out of Hudsonville. Chad and Matt, they both run it. I kind of always go through Chad. He kind of just gives me parts, tires, even for like dirt bikes and stuff, just at a good price. I usually just send him what I need and all my oil, kind of stuff like that he can get. And then I got Joe Craft with Witchcraft. He helps me out with my suspension. And then I just picked up a sponsorship with Plus Racing. So they're making me a pretty awesome custom suit because my suit was pretty gnarly from that crash I had at the beginning of the year last year. And they kind of offered that to me. And I was like, well, I need a new suit anyway. And custom suits sound great. I actually used their gloves. That was kind of like the selling factor of them. I used their gloves and like I crashed in them and like they looked like I didn't crash in them.
Yeah. Like a kangaroo or cowhide?
Kangaroo. The gloves were kangaroo. I've never had a kangaroo suit, but the new suit's gonna be kangaroo. Airbag compatible and
nice.
And then my parents helped me out a lot. I always mention them because I love them. They're my parents and racing's expensive. They help me out. And then I've got it's like a great uncle. He kind of helps me out. He let me use his shop when I didn't have a shop.
It takes a team, right? It's not just one person.
Yeah, it definitely takes a team. Like I wouldn't be able to do this without anybody. Especially where I am right now. It's fun. Like it's addicting. It's what makes me happy. So.
And how are you normally getting to the track? What's your tow vehicle trailer setup?
So I've got when I started, I would just borrow my dad's truck, and we got like an enclosed trailer, like a 7x12. So I kind of got that set up just to haul the bikes, but I just bought a van probably, it was like right at the end of last winter. I bought a big old Chevy, like 3500 extended van. And then I've been sleeping in that and I can pull my chair with that now. I just actually ripped out like the floor and I'm kind of doing like a pseudo camper van setup, but I still have to use it for work. Loading tools and wood and stuff. So that's it needs to be half and half.
Yeah, so you got like a hybrid going on.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm planning on hopefully before racing starts, a way to set up a bed in there, a way to just kind of put track goodies, stuff I need for a weekend, just kind of store them, and then so I don't really have to hustle to find boxes for everything because you always overpack for racing. You never know what you need.
Well, it's good to bring everything, right? You always need the spares, every spare you have, because if you're in Alabama and you fell over first practice session, you better have that clip on.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Now, do you keep like a list of all your spares, or is it just like, oh, I have an extra rear set, but I'd like to have another one a part of this?
I don't really keep a list. I just kind of have the pointy bits kind of all just a box with extra ones, and then if I use them I get a new one.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, that's kind of so that's the other thing. That's what I can say. The guy that sponsored me with my parts and stuff, he's pretty cool. He kind of keeps like he also sponsors Raul.
Oh yeah.
So he kind of keeps like we kind of have a list for him, and he kind of keeps what we need in stock. And I told him like for this year, because last year I busted up my helmet, scratched it all up, and then I had to order a new one, but everything was back ordered. So I was like, hey, like, can you just order me like the same helmet I use? So if I do crack it, then I'm not waiting to get a new one. So stuff like that, stuff I don't necessarily like want to buy right now because I want to get back to the track. Like he helps us out with that too.
Yeah, it's always good to have, 2 pairs of gloves, maybe 2 pairs of boots, definitely 2 helmets. Some people are fortunate enough to have 2 suits, but 2 undersuits if you wear something underneath would be nice to have, especially if
Yeah.
there are multiple days and you're not actually washing it.
Yeah. Yep.
Socks, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's nice to have extras, but if you can just get there with what you have, that's a good starting point.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I have an open trailer. I just got a Harbor Freight trailer I built myself, put some wood on it, got a trailer restraint, strapped a gas can, a tongue box to put my tools in, and then a couple of ramps to the side of it, and call it a day. But when I get back into motorcycle road racing, I really want to have an enclosed trailer because then your stuff's not dirty after you just drove 12 hours and it was raining the whole time.
Yeah. It's nice too because I use my trailer a little bit for work, but most of the time I don't. So I just like when I'm racing, I usually just keep my bike in there and all my like basically everything in there unless I need to work on something.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, then I can just hook up and go. My van, I'm actually able with my van, I can fit a motorcycle and then still have enough room to sleep.
That's good.
But so like I always debate like if I do like any of these longer trips, like if I were to go down to Barber, it'd be nice just to put everything in the van and save money on gas because your fuel mileage like halves when you pull a trailer. And but then in part of me is like, oh, it's still nice to have that trailer because you can just keep everything in there. Like if it's raining, like there's always gonna be some stuff you gotta take out if you're sleeping in there.
Canopies and generators and bicycles, maybe.
Yeah. And like I don't want to leave like gas cans just outside of my van and
Yeah.
have somebody come snatch them.
I mean, there is some risk, I guess, of maybe not theft, but tampering. I've heard of a couple of rare stories over a decade of there's some, shenanigans going on between racers.
Yeah. Yeah, most of the tracks are pretty I don't think there's really any shady people. I'd say not shady, but like when we like mid Ohio, like there's just a lot of people.
Yeah, tons of people who aren't really necessarily in your circle.
Yeah, and they're just all day, they're just going back and forth around your stuff, looking at you, looking at your setups, so it's like that's kind of it's nice to tuck everything away.
Yeah, and I've seen some people at night will repack everything for the night before they leave. So it's all enclosed and locked up.
Yeah.
I always just left my stuff out. I'm like, no one's gonna steal. I'm like sleeping 20 feet away.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of tuck some stuff away, but not all. Just kind of compress a little bit.
Yeah, at least if it rains, you don't have everything spewed out everywhere.
Yeah, that's kind of the biggest thing. I don't like rain. I did a mini moto event at Fremont, a little kart track like in Ohio,
Yeah, I've heard of it.
and we rode a couple times, and we had everything out, and then it just started pouring. I mean, it was probably the heaviest rain I've ever been like outside in,
Yeah.
and we had to quick load everything up. Like the inside of the van got soaked, and it was just not fun. So as much as you can avoid that, the better.
Yeah. Sometimes you can see it coming like a wall of water and there's nothing you can do to stop it. There's maybe a canopy that you have, but not nearly enough.
That's literally what happened. It was just like flip a switch, water,
Yeah.
terror.
But that's about an hour and a half already.
Okay.
So I guess we can probably cut it here. You are the very next one I'll post. I just posted one with Johnny Rock Page. that's blowing up. So make sure you check it out.
Yeah, cool. I kind of been after Eric's. I kind of been watching them all just to study up.
Oh yeah, well, awesome. I'm glad you've been listening a little bit.
Yeah. I heard about you last year and watched a few, and yeah, I'm gonna probably keep watching. It's fun to listen to while I'm working in the shop and stuff.
Yeah, man, it's not supposed to be super professional or serious anyways. It's just talking to people in the motorsports industry and trying to help promote and create some original content.
Yeah.
So, all right, man, I'll get this edited and posted. Thanks for talking to me, and I'll see you at the kart track in a couple weeks.
Yeah, thank you very much. Have a good weekend.
You too, man. Bye-bye.
Bye.